Hey there everybody, Chris from Orlando here, and today I want to talk about Stitch's Great Escape. You know, the place that spent all the money on the animatronics so they didn't have a budget for a good story. Now, to the world at large, Stitch's Great Escape just seemed like a mediocre at best show, but for the Disney Parks fanatics, it is widely considered one of, if not the worst attraction in Disney Parks history. That's a pretty big claim for a list that also includes Journey into Your Imagination, Superstar Limo, and, Small World. So today for my first video, because Stitch's Great Escape was the first attraction I worked at as a cast member, and because I want to kill my channel instantly because, again, no one likes Stitch's Great Escape, let's dive into the story, the experience itself, and why it was so hated. Stitch's Great Escape opened to the public on November 16th, 2004, replacing Extra Terror! Terrestrial Alien Encounter. This already gave a big strike against Stitch because Alien Encounter was a very popular attraction. It provided something different to the kid-friendly norm that the rest of the park had covered. Not to mention it had Tim frickin' Curry as Sir in the pre-show, so already it was an immediate downgrade, as all things are without Tim Curry involved. I'm looking at you, Clue the board game. Another big strike on opening day wasn't against the show itself, but rather what Disney did to promote that it was now open. Picture the meeting. Alright gentlemen, Stitch is a huge moneymaker. With the show opening, we want something big in the park to let the entire world know he's here. What should we do? Oh, I know! Stitch is a troublemaker, right? Well, let's take the most iconic building in the park, the one that everyone takes a picture in front of because it's so beautiful and magical, and spray graffiti all over it and TP the whole thing. Johnson, you're a genius! Cindy, I need 50 cans of spray paint and 600 rolls of toilet paper! Let's move! So... that's what they ended up doing. I mean, I can't imagine if you saved up for years to go to Disney, and all you wanted was a picture with your family in front of the castle, only to see it in such a state. I'm still trying to decide if it's worse than the cake design. So, people's perception of the thing already wasn't the best. But hey, as long as the actual show is good, we can put all of this behind us, right? Right? Let's get in line. Once you get into the holding area, you are informed that you are the new recruits who are going to be prison guards at the Galactic Federation Prisoner Teleport Center, and this is your first day on the job. There's a plaque right next to the main doors which, when translated, reads, "This Galactic Federation Prisoner Teleport Center is hereby dedicated to the preservation of peace and harmony throughout the galaxy by protecting the nice from the naughty." The Grand Councilwoman 2004, November 16th. And if you're wondering where online I found that information, the answer is, I didn't. I translated it myself one Saturday night because I don't have a life, and I was bored. But yeah, a little nugget of information for you. Never say you don't learn anything on this channel. Once the doors open, you'll enter the receiving area, which is where you'll hear, for the first time, our Lord and Savior, Wendy Pleakley! Confused? Well, I don't blame you, but I really can't begin to explain how much Pleakley meant to the Tomorrowland cast members during the time I was there. He was our unofficial mascot. So do it, people! Became our battle cry. If we were a Game of Thrones house, Pleakley's face would be on our banner. It is a meme that got out of hand, and I love him for it. Unfortunately, my boy is only a bit player in the show, and he's just there to introduce the Grand Councilwoman, who apparently is too good to come down and meet her new employees in person on their first day. She then hands the floor over to Captain Gantu, who also is apparently too good to come down and meet his new employees in person on their first day. There's a fun gag where all Stitch's cousins quickly flash on screen, which is nice if you were a fan of the Lilo and Stitch show back in the day. You're then instructed to move to the briefing room for further training. Here you meet Sergeant C4703 BK2704-90210. which was already a dated reference back in 2004. And yes, I still have the entire name engraved into my skull after hearing him a million times. While everyone else that was watching Inside Out were bawling their eyes out over Bing Bong's sacrifice, I'm over here knowing that I have to hear that same voice say, "I think I just oiled myself," the next day. So, anyway, he gets off the phone with his sweetie parts, who I took the naming JEN8675309 because, again, I have no life and was bored. Sarge teaches us that there are two types of prisoners. You have your level 1s and your level 2s. Now, because this is our first day and Sarge is kinda competent, he starts us off with level 1s. He shows us jaywalking Skippy and the soon-to-be teleported-in Jelly. If you've seen the show and wondering where those names came from since they're never mentioned by name, well, Skippy was actually the name of the same alien that was in the pre-show during Alien Encounter. In fact, the whole area has plenty of references to the previous show, with all the animatronics just repurposed for the new theme, and the Excess Tech logo appearing on some of the machines. As for where Jelly got his name, well, he got arrested for eating all the jelly and the jelly donuts. And the other alien is Skippy, you know, like the peanut butter. Yeah, I'm surprised they went with the 90210 reference, but drew the line at making a PB&J joke. Before the briefing could go any further, we receive a call from Gantu saying we have an incoming level 3! Sarge, man, I thought you said there were only 2 levels. What kind of teacher are you? So, naturally, with a prisoner this big and bad, they need all hands on deck. And by all hands, I mean 3 sets of trained hands as well as an entire theater of untrained recruits. 10 out of 10 logic there, Gantu. And now we finally get to go into the theater and start the show. Once everyone is seated, because people haven't been paying attention to the fact that this is a show, and ask if this ride spins and goes upside down. Like, seriously? Why are you asking that now? Once everyone is finally seated, we are put under the command of Gantu, First Officer Armbit, and Ensign Gecko. They lower the shoulder bars so that they can collect DNA samples from everyone so that the cannons don't shoot them, and for absolutely no other reason, promise guys. Then the teleportation sequence begins. Whatever this thing is, it's taken up a lot of power to get here, and to the surprise of absolutely no one, it turns out to be a boy, Stitch! Now, I do want to take a moment and say that while yes, this show did get a lot of things wrong, one thing it absolutely nailed was the animatronics in the show chamber. Like, Stitch and the cannons both move really well even 10 years after the show first came out. I wouldn't say they would rival what they're doing at Pandora or at Galaxy's Edge, but I would easily have put Stitch in the top 10 animatronics list. Note to self, remember the top animatronics list for a future video, and to remind people to like and subscribe if they want to see that video and more fun videos like it. Gantu is confused over how something so cute and fluffy could be so dangerous, because keep in mind this takes place before the events of the movie. So rather than, using one of the many comm links he's been using to talk to people throughout the entire show, he just straight up abandons his post to see what's going on. Bad call, because Stitch breaks out immediately. To quote Pitch Meeting, it was super easy, barely an inconvenience. Let's pause here for a second though. Up to now, this whole show has been a more kid-friendly version of Alien Encounter, and more or less it does that job well, minus some hit-and-miss jokes. Seriously, frickin' 90210! But everyone who did Alien Encounter knew that the fun stuff really didn't start until the lights went out. So, what happens now? Well, Stitch sniffs around for a bit, casually steals and, I think, eats a guy's phone? Sniff some more, and then... the moment that a good 95% of people point to when they complain about the show. Stitch finds and eats a chili dog, and then burps on everyone. Now, the joke itself is pretty harmless, but dear Lord, sweet baby Jesus, the smell that came out of those pumps were ungodly! The smell was more spoiled milk and rotten eggs than chili dogs. Everyone hated that smell. The only people who got a kick out of that gag was the cast member in the theater with them that was able to laugh at everyone, because seriously, after being in that chamber for hours at a time, you build up an immunity to that stench. So Gantu comes back and sees the chaos going on and goes, "Hey, dummies! Turn on the backup power!" And Abed and Gecko are like, "Oh yeah, we're really bad at our jobs, aren't we?" And turn the lights back on. So now the cannons are searching for Stitch, but can't find him because he's spitting on the guests, causing the cannons to go haywire and knock out the power again. Stitch jumps on the guest's shoulder bars while taunting Gantu, and because we weren't having a bad enough time already, gives us another spray of the chili dog smell. Which I will admit got me real good the first time I saw this show. Stitch decides it's time to boogie and rewires the teleportation tube to get him out of here, lucky him, and ends up going to Earth, and not to Hawaii, but to Florida, in the Magic Kingdom, where he trolls Cinderella in her castle. You are relieved of duty and can now make your own escape from the attraction, but, fun fact, if you stick around for a hot minute after the show is done, you can hear the alien from the previous show breathing, just to remind you that a better attraction used to be here. So that was Stitch's Great Escape, and now we ask the question of why was it so hated? In my opinion, it's because the show was an extremely watered down version of what came before. Alien Encounter was a fan favorite amongst older parkgoers, and to just get a more or less same show but extremely toned down really didn't work for those fans. But Chris, I hear you cry, it's a show starring Stitch. It's not meant for an older crowd. And you'd be right, but this show wasn't good for kids either. For one thing, due to the shoulder bars, this show had a height requirement which already limited the kids that could come in. And two, while the show isn't scary at all for teens and up, it was terrifying for small kids. I can't tell you how many families I had to get out halfway through the show because their kids were bawling their eyes out. So this show didn't work for older kids, it didn't work for smaller kids, and it didn't work for anyone with a nose thanks to that frickin' chili dog! And now the lobby is put to use as a Stitch meet and greet, while everything else inside is being scrapped. So am I sad to see the show finally be put to rest? Well, kind of actually. I know it's a bad show, but come on! You always have a special place in your heart for the first attraction you work at as a cast member. And I certainly do for Stitch. And as weird as it sounds, I wasn't kidding when I said Pleakley was a big deal when I worked in Tomorrowland. It did bring a lot of Tomorrowland cast members together. Not just those who worked the show, but all of them from the Laugh Floor to Space Mountain. All united under the power of memes and doing it, people! So Stitch's Great Escape will go down as one of the most hated attractions in Disney Parks history. But even the worst attractions have an odd way of leaving a little Disney magic. With the right people, of course. I'm Chris from Orlando, and now that I've covered the worst attraction at the resort, the only way to go is up. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you want more videos in the already oversaturated genre of Disney Parks videos. Take care, y'all. One love. Don't hurt nobody.